Hello and welcome to the Tarkis Zone. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be looking at the game RivenWorld, the First Era. And I will be today because it looks like I am going to be playing this game. So today I'm going to be creating a playlist on my channel for this game. It really looks very promising. And I get more and more details about the game every day. The developers, now this might blow your mind, but the developers are actually taking the time to inform the community that things are getting done, and they actually giving us a checklist, and we're going to look at that shortly. But before I do that, I wanted to point you to their Steam page. They're actively working on the game. It looks like it's going to go into some sort of testing mode shortly, and it looks very promising. One of the key things that I like about the game is it's going to allow you to claim land. And when you claim that land at that point needs to be upkept, meaning that you have to pay. What I understand is you can give it resources. Any resources you find in the game will be valued according to what the developers want it to be valued at. And then when you feed it to let's call it Igor. So you feed it to Igor, and Igor then gives you so much more time on your land acquisition before. Because what happens is, if you don't pay the upkeep fee to your land, the world will then gobble it up. The world will slowly change it back to what it was. So if you build a huge castle, and there's a mechanism in the game, tax pillar, or whatever you want to call it. I'll call it Igor for now. So there's this Igor, and you walk up to it, and then you give it. So my understanding is if you give it higher resources, you get more duration or more time added to your ownership of the land. And this mechanic is in the game. You don't have to buy a subscription to get the items to feed your taxes, basically, or to feed Igor. You basically just need to be able to upkeep it, and the developers are saying that it's going to be pretty simple to do. They're not going to make it a chore to keep your settlement or your village or your property land. They're not going to make it impossible for you to upkeep it, but I'm imagining if you increase the perimeter of what you own, then the resources are going to be more and more, to a point where there's only so much land that you would be able to secure before it gets to a point where that's all your time will be going out to get items to feed Igor to pay for the property maintenance. I mean, so I'm thinking that's the balancing there. But if you have a crew of people that you're playing with, then that should not be a problem. You should be able to expand, and then you guys are just going by and feeding Igor, and then the duration time of basically taxation or ownership is increased. Now, when I talked to the devs, they said that the mechanism can be fed by anybody. So if I see, I'll walk up to someone's house and I haven't seen that person on for, let's say, a month, and I notice that the world's starting to destroy the property, and I'm like, well, geez, that guy was pretty cool. I myself could walk up to Igor, or whatever we want to call it in this situation, and feed the taxation costs so that the upkeep is now paid for, and the world won't take over the land. So people that will be able to help with the resource gathering and feeding your upkeep costs. All right, well, moving forward with a little bit of the way the game is also designed is based on their last live stream that they did. They talked about monsters and how the mobs are going to work in the game, and how my understanding is it's going to work as they're going to have underground places, or places where the monsters go to hide during the day because they're not out during the day. Similar to Token, how he did his goblins, where most goblins don't go outside during the day because the sun hurts them. I think they're going to kind of like that route here. So at night, all the monsters kind of filter out of their homes and start taking over the land. And then at that point at night, you fight them. So really during the day, I guess you're doing just the management, the building. I mean, I don't know if they're going to have a lot of questing involved in this game. I don't know at this point that's the case, but I'm just hoping that there's something to do during the day. Because the other thing that they've also mentioned in their, either I read it on their Discord or I heard it in their video, that the PvP elements of the game are going to be really toned down during the day. So that means you can freely walk around the world during the day, and if somebody tries to attack you, it's not going to be like within 4 seconds they're going to kill you. They're going to have a mechanism that's going to basically mute that kind of... You can still do it, but I guess it would be like two tanks colliding and taking forever to kill each other. But at night, during the time that the monsters are out, PvP is going to be fully on. So if you're out doing monster grinding, if that's a thing in this game to get resources, then you're vulnerable to those people that want to PvP you at the same time. So that's what I understand about the game so far. It sounds like they've got a plan, and it seems like they're really informing us of what's going on with that plan. So with that said, I'm going to bring over their Discord just to show you their Discord, and I would recommend coming to their Discord channel. On their main, going back here, on their main Steam page, they have a link right here. They're really looking for some donations for their Kickstarter. So if you've got some extra moolah in your pocket, go to their Kickstarter, which is the link here, and give them some coinage. But let's bring up the Discord again. So this week, they're telling us in these devlogs, which is the category here on their Discord, what they're hoping to accomplish this week. And this was posted today around 11 a.m. my time, which is Eastern time. So last week, they fixed the networking system. We found a bug where the connection to the server would drop about an hour after or so of the gameplay. Added more blocks and placeables within the world. Started work on melee combat, because I really wanted to see how they did the combat in this game. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully they get it in their next live feed, their live stream. Finish the core building system. Add thumbnails for all new items. Have a demo for the melee combat. Now this is what's exciting to me, that the devs get it. They understand that they got to push a product out like Ashes of Creation did, that where they created that Battle Royale called Apocalypse, where people can test the melee functions of the game and see a little bit if it's balanced or not. Because if you don't have balanced characters or balanced weapons, then what you do is, if there's, like, say the two-handed axe is the weapon to use, everybody's going to be rolling with it, right? I mean, nobody's going to go use a dagger if the dagger is not performing as well as the two-handed battle axe. So having a demo for the melee combat system works well, because as a player I can tell them that, geez, I've tested all these weapons, these feel clunky, the animations on these don't feel right, or the balancing needs to be a little bit massaged because you just can't get it done with the dagger, you know. So, you know, I'm using that as an example. Add player names to the chat box. Okay, that's some housekeeping stuff for the social part of the game. Now remember, this game's going to have proximity voice, so when you get close to somebody, you'll be able to talk to that person. I did mention during on the feedback on their channel here that when they were doing the last demo, when they were talking to each other, you had no idea who was talking. I knew who was talking because I had sat there from the beginning, so I associated that person's voice to that character. So when another person rolled up and started talking, I understood who was talking and who wasn't talking. But if you had just shown up to the Discord at that moment, you had no idea which of the two characters in game were actually talking. So I had to mention, well, maybe put a mic above their head when they're actively talking. Now what their response was is they were going to have the character's name change color. So if I am talking and it says Tarkis, it could turn to green. So my name will turn to green, so you know that it's I who is talking, which was a great response, and that's what makes me feel that the devs kind of get it. They're working to fix these little things and make sure that their product comes out of the gate with at least some common sense. I mean, I've played too many games where people didn't really go through the demo phase. They just dropped their garbage onto the Steam and they hope for the best. I mean, I just recently played a game. I'm not going to name the game because I promised that developer I want it, but it was just a dumpster fire from beginning to end. And I let them know. And they thought I was being harsh to them. And then within a week, everybody who rated the game in reviews on Steam basically called it a dumpster fire. That the person didn't understand whatever audience they were going for, and their game being so buggy, and they're like, we're hoping to fix it as people play it, but you can't do it that way because no one's playing it, because everybody's refunding it because your game's a dumpster fire. So, this developer at least is allowing people to get a hands on with the demo, melee combat demo, get your hands on it to allow people to say, well, look, this is what we think. Where the other developer was, I'm going to dump it on the store, and then I'm going to do my testing after people have paid for the game. I mean, that doesn't really work for me, because you can just refund it and be done with it. And I was going to give them a very thorough, but it was going to be a very nasty review. And I said, no, I won't do that to them. They understand what they did wrong. They understand where they are in their project. They understand the feedback that the people gave. So let's move back. Let's move on. So, a crafting recipes for all building blocks, nice. Add the land claim system. This is key. This is what other games have failed to do. And I will mention Frozen Flame here. They failed to get this right. And that is what drove me to stop playing it for the last week. I just can't understand how you can have a building game system and not have some sort of claim or some sort of mechanic in the game where you have control over the assets that you've built, and that somebody can just walk up and start deleting shit on you. Or even in that game, you could just build on top of someone's building. So if somebody built one floor, somebody else could build a second floor that they don't even know them, can build on top of them. And I didn't understand the logic to that, and I understood the pitfalls for that. But like a game like this, out of the gate, is going to have that system enabled, where you'll be able to give permissions to those people that can build on your land. So if you say, Bobby Sue, you've got Tarkis gives Bobby Sue permissions. Now Bobby Sue can do whatever she wants on my land because I've given her permissions. But if somebody else walks onto my property, my claimed property assets, and try to build something, it will say you do not have permissions to build here. That's the right way of doing things. And this developer gets that. This developer understands that that is a key function in your game out of the gate. So, moving on. They're going to have a live stream. It looks February 1st. I think that's Wednesday. And they're going to be at 9 p.m. Now, they don't say what 9 p.m. if it's Eastern time. I'm going to assume that it's Eastern time because I did watch their last, and I'll be watching their live stream again this week and do a video on that also. But I encourage you to get on their YouTube page. I think they might even have Twitch. Let's just go back to here. And usually you find that in the Community Hub under discussions, important links. So they've got their website here. They got their Discord, which I showed you, their Twitter, their Facebook, and their YouTube. So it doesn't look like they are on Twitch or they don't have a link to Twitch. But I know the last video that I watched when they were live, I was on YouTube, but they were communicating with other people. So they might have been doing it live on Facebook then. Or maybe they were doing it live on Twitter. I don't know. I'm not big of a Twitter person. Between TikTok and Twitter, I don't get involved in those platforms for various reasons. So I am kind of hardcore to YouTube, Facebook, Meta, and Discord. And obviously I will go, their website, going to their website works too. I've opened up on my other screen. I won't drag it over, but you can see their links here. We want single player. So let's see what they got here. Just single player. Thanks for the suggestion. We'll explore adding a single player to RivenWorld in the future. You can host your dedicated server. We're building the server software similar to the Minecraft with the Java edition. So you can easily host your own private server and just play by yourself. Problem solved, right? But I think what they're saying here is single player, not online. I think that's what a lot of these people ask for when they're saying single player. They don't want to have to be online to play the game, but I don't know how that's going to work considering the fact that, I guess you could run the server on a computer in your house and do a LAN connection to it, but again, you're still connecting to it, right? It's not just dedicated to one box. Or maybe you could run the server in the box you're playing with and then tie to it, but that you would have to have a pretty beefy computer to do that. I would never suggest running the server on the same box that you're trying to play the game. I just wouldn't suggest that. It doesn't seem to work all that well with other games that I've played. So here we are, and again, I encourage you to go to their live stream when they do it on Wednesday. I believe that's the day. Because there's 31 days in this month. So yeah, definitely check them out. I recommend definitely giving them a shot, especially if they're going to give you a free demo. I mean, I love games that give you a free demo so you can look at them and then look at the demo, play the demo, and then let the developer know what you think of the demo. That makes the game work better for everyone. Now, moving forward to conclude my video, I watched their building aspect the last time, and my only criticism, well, I had two criticisms, one being the gaming computer that the person was playing on, but that's being resolved. They got back to me and said, yeah, they didn't say, these were not their exact words, but they know they had a potato computer that they were playing on, and they were upgrading the video card so that future streams are going to go a lot smoother. So that's great. It is because the person is doing it at 9 o'clock at night. They're at home, and so they're on their home computer trying to do the stream for the development, and so they're just at the comfort of their home trying to do it, and their computer just wasn't up for the tasks for the last stream. So that's hopefully that gets resolved. And then the other thing that I mentioned a couple times was how blocky the blocks looked. I understand building things with blocks, but I'm hoping to see more assets around the actual building, like flatter blocks. So if you took that block that they're using, if you go I think it was in this video or this video here, they show you the blocks. Yeah, here we are. They're blocks. They're really just blocks, and I get that. If that's going to be their art design, I'll work with it, but I'm thinking and hoping that their assets can get shrunk in this direction so it looks like a thin wall, and then shrunk down so that you got a thin flooring. I'm hoping that those kinds of I'm just hoping that all the assets that you go to build are just not blocks. It's hard to do circles with blocks. You can pull it off by overlapping and just moving, but that's a lot of resources you'll need to gather in the world just to cause that overlap of the blocks so you get the circle look. You know what I mean? And if you've done building games, you'll know what I mean. You can make a circle out of blocks by just angling them each time and overlapping the blocks. But it requires 3 times the amount of blocks to do the same square footage when you're trying to do a circle. And then the inner side doesn't look like a circle. It looks like a jagged block ends coming out of the outer side, but when you look from the or from the inner side, but when you look from the outer side, when you're out in the world looking at it, it looks like a circle. But if you went in the building, it would look like there's a bunch of jagged stone blocks sticking out because of the way you had to angle them. So I'm just hoping that they work a little bit on those assets. And again, I don't have my hands in the game, so when the game drops or when maybe they do a demo and testing the building capacity, then I can get in there and work with, because I used to build worlds in Horizon, Meta Horizons in VR, and I spent 9 months working 14 hours building worlds in that platform. So I understand building design. I understand ambiance. I understand environmental fluff, meaning that when you walk up to a building, well, maybe you walk up to a building that looks like a church, or you walk up to a building that looks like an old Western saloon, or you walk up to a building that looks like a castle, or you walk up to a building that looks like a haunted house. I mean, those are the kinds of things that makes a game very good if you have the tools within the game to make stuff look like everyday stuff in the real world, right? I mean, so if they gave you the tools to do that, then when you walked up to the haunted hill, you walk up and you're like, geez, Tarkis made a haunted house. This is cool, you know what I mean? Or Tarkis made a 7-Eleven, or it looks like a 7-Eleven. I mean, that is cool. So, I mean, I don't know how detailed their block system is going to be or how much, what their assets going to be. I'm looking forward to their next stream, which is going to be in a couple days on Wednesday. So let's just bring that back up here. So it's going to be February 1st at 9 p.m. and hopefully they've included some of this, added more blocks and placeables within the world. I don't know if that is like hard assets that they put in the world. That's what they're talking about here, where they're because their last stream, the world was kind of dead, didn't have anything running around. There was no animals, there was no monsters. They had a few buildings that looked very nice and well done, but maybe that's what they mean here, is they've added more buildings to the world so you can see the world when you first log on. There's some things in the world, but I'm also hoping that this also means that they've added some more placeables in the building interface that anyone can do. All right. I just wanted to point you guys in this direction. I wanted to plug this game again to tell you that I think it's got huge potential. It's really up my alley. They do have the feedback channel here now, and then you can give them feedback when you go to that channel and just tell them what you think. And they are listening, because they've been timely. When I posted stuff, they've been timely on answering the questions that I had, and hopefully they can get this entire game out onto the market. July, August would be great after the appropriate testing. Well, thank you for joining me. This has been the Tarkis Zone.